On to Chapter 11 review. This first slide is going to be important. So well-conceived policies and procedures have these three primary benefits, something I would want to know for the exam. In general, we talked about leaving space between the white lines so that you have some latitude. If you remember, I used the term the Goldilocks, that you want not too much guidance, not too little guidance, just right. On to the next topic, which is the idea of continuous improvement. One of the ways is best practices. Best practices are associated with benchmarking. In other words, you benchmark yourself against best practices, best in industry, best in world. And that tells us how we're doing, and it also tells us how we can do better. So we benchmark and find out how the best in the world are doing and how we compare. We then adapt that best practice, and then we go on to continue to benchmark ourselves and get better in the process. Again, that's going to be important for the exam. Wide-scale use of best practices promotes operational excellence and good strategy execution. The next topic, that was benchmarking. Now we're on to business process reengineering. Remember, this is where I talk about you take the dynamite and you blow things up. So this is where you rework the workflow. They talk about redesigning and streamlining it. They get into a lot of gobbledygook words down here you don't need to know so much. The real thing is that business process reengineering is a radical redesign and streamlining, and you're looking for quantum improvements, not 1 or 2% like you're going to see with TQM or Six Sigma. This is a big deal, so it's a quantum leap improvement. It's also a one-shot deal. Then we look at the more incremental continuous improvements. TQM, these are all aspects of TQM that you're going to want to be familiar with for the exam. More on TQM, it influences a culture. Importantly, there's no such thing as good enough. It's small steps every day, and also, very importantly, it takes a long time to show results. It says very little benefits emerge in the first 6 months, because this is not a business process reengineering deal where it's a blow the dynamite up, big things happen. These are smaller baby steps. Then, different than TQM in most people's mind, not as much in mine, but that's not important for the exam, is this idea of Six Sigma. And the goal of Six Sigma is to identify and remove the causes of errors and undesirable variation. So Six Sigma is a whole bunch of statistical mumbo jumbo and accuracy, but it's importantly based on 3 principles. All work is a process, which means it can be mapped. All processes have variability. And like I said up here, the goal is to remove that undesirable variability. And all processes create data that allows us to explain their variability, with, again, the end goal being that we can drive out that undesirable variability. Don't need to worry about this slide. The drawback to Six Sigma is that it can be viewed as stifling innovation. And so part of operational excellence is knowing what you should use Six Sigma in and what you should not use Six Sigma in. This again draws the big difference between business process reengineering, which is a one-time quantum leap, and TQM Six Sigma, which are ongoing incremental improvements. I don't specifically remember that slide, but probably it's a good one to ponder and make sure that you understand. There's no test questions about real-time information tracking. There are significant questions about using rewards and incentives, however. And so you're going to want to be familiar with what we're talking about from this slide. And this is a pretty important concept, that a well-designed reward structure is management's single most powerful tool for mobilizing organizational commitment to successful strategy execution. And what that simply says is, when you reward certain behaviors, they get reinforced and repeated. Again, this is an important slide. These are all elements of parts of what all elements of that good motivational and perk structure. This is the one that would initially seem contrary to what you would think, but if you think about it with your real life experience, it really does work exactly that way. And that is that the idea of taking all pressure off does not tend to lead to good execution. So what you want to do is, again, hit that middle ground where you don't completely remove all the stress and all the pressure, nor do you let it rise to a level so that it erodes your effectiveness. Really important words for life and for the exam. When you link rewards to the job, focus on what should be achieved, not on what to do, and you reward people for results, not for activity. And this is hard because we want to reward people for trying, and we do that with our kids, and your parents probably did that with you if you're one of the younger folks in the class, but it's really about the results. Here are more guidelines for making effective systems, the effective compensation systems based on incentives. So it needs to be a major, not a minor piece of the compensation package. Everybody's got to play. It's got to be fair. Um, and it's got to be something that they can see they have a role in. You want to keep the time lapse between the behavior and the reward as short as possible. And again, don't go back and reward effort. You want to reward results. And as important as ethics is to me, and as much as I hope you enjoyed our discussion of ethics, there are no exam questions on ethics. So that is the end of the Chapter 6 review.